All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start. My name's Mélissa Peng. I am the founder of Pon Di Beat. I'm also known as the Curly Executive. I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur with 5 different businesses and companies. And this is what I used to call my passion or pet project. When I thought of this topic, my goal was to share really my journey with y'all. So what, people kind of see Pon Di Beat, they don't know who's necessarily behind it. We are a 2-person team. So me, my husband, and then I do have like an assistant from time to time who works for us. So we're pretty small. And we have over the last year at Pon Di Beat done over 40 events. Which is crazy. And all of our events require flying in performers. So we've flown in performers for 40 different classes. And the biggest thing and the most interesting thing about this is I could have never told you that I'd be doing what I'm doing now last year. Pon Di Beat was not planned. So to tell you, now we have a couple of people on. So to tell you more about me, I'm Mélissa. I'm from Miami originally. My family is from Jamaica and Haiti. I grew up dancing as a child. So I did ballet, tap, jazz, and then West African dance as a child. And I always loved dance and I wanted to perform. That was a big thing for me. So it was like when I was 14, I told my mom I wanted to be a cabaret dancer. That was like my goal in life. And I was always told, no, you need to study or let someone else do that. So for me, in my childhood, while dance was a big deal and I would always be encouraged to dance, I was always told that this was not something that I could or should aspire to from a career perspective. We did not have a world where there was Instagram or social media or any of that stuff too. So for a parent to tell you to go and commit to dance as a career, you would have had to have somebody who was probably really artistic. But my mom was like, no, that is not what you were going to do. Dance hall was surprisingly an absolute no-no in my house. So my mother would always be like, yeah, you're not gonna be whining and grinding and this and that and thing. And so for me, dance hall wasn't something that I was able to even be exposed to. So while some people, who would have grown up as a Jamaican would have gone to parties and done certain things, that was not something that I was allowed to do. We had a pretty conservative family. My grandma's a reverend. That was just not something. Exactly. Them island parents don't play that. Exactly. So that was not what I could do. But I was lucky enough that at my college there was an Afro-Haitian dance troupe. So we learned Afro-Haitian dances. So we learned a lot of Igbo dances and Congo dances and very traditional, like we dress up in white and chant and move and sing Igbo Lele. It was pretty cool. And so I got to continue to do dance. I also did Bollywood dance. So doing cultural and ethnic dances has always been part of my life. After that, I actually ended up essentially stopping dance. So between graduating college and moving on to real life, as people would call it, I was busy working. I got my MBA, I went to MIT, I did the whole corporate track, and soon into it, I got burnt out. And so dance was what I went back to. And I was able to do an absolute beginner dance hall class. They used to have those at BDC in New York. And when I did that class, like if y'all are watching and looking at the scene, there's so many dance hall classes now. This was the only class being taught in New York. And so I did that class. I eventually met my husband in a dance studio. So that's how that happened, which is really cool. And we ended up moving to LA. And at that time in LA, there was really no dance hall. There was Lorenzo Zagazohana. So if you follow them, their Dance Hall Funk Worldwide, that was it. Like he was there. And like, all the activity hadn't started yet. Soon after I moved to LA, though, there were more people that popped up. And I kind of fell in love with dance hall, mainly because it was a way that I could connect back to my culture and my roots. And I only got to try a tiny bit of Afro because it, again, was not there yet. And so for me, back then, one of my biggest goals that I would never tell anyone was to actually join Zagazo's crew and be part of that movement. But I didn't really let myself do it. Fast forward, and again, you get my whole life story as it relates to dance here, but we're almost done with that part. I moved here. So we're actually in Texas, and I'll show you guys like a peek really quickly. We're in a dance studio right now. So this is my house, and this is my dance studio. So, and you can see my walls, my sound walls. So I literally, when I moved to Texas, built a dance studio in my house because I was that committed to finally following my dream and getting to dance. Like I was like, I'm committed to doing dance now. I'm gonna commit the time. And of course, I moved to Austin, Texas. Well, you can come visit me, Cookie. I think you're local, right? I moved to Austin, Texas, and there was no dance here. So like when I was finally like 10 years later ready to take advantage of my time and focus on dance and build, I got here and there was no dance. And so at that point, that's when Pon Di Beat kind of started, because I said, okay, let me fly people out, the people that I've met over the years, like from doing this, and see if I can make something happen here. And make dance happen here. I'm laughing at y'all. Yes, good old Austin. Keep it weird. And so for me, like that's how Pon Di Beat and the Pon Di Beat journey ended up coming through. So we're now in Austin. I've now decided I'm going to fly all these dancers out. I've been marketing now for 10 years. I was a high-level corporate marketer. And so you've kind of seen the transition, and now I'm ready to dance and there's no dance. Pon Di Beat, the name, fun fact, I had bought that 4 or 5 years ago. I pitched people on doing tutorials in dance hall because when I was in LA, I didn't have time to go to class consistently. And I was like, if I could just record these tutorials, I would be able to actually learn dance hall on my own time. But no one would record tutorials with me. I'm sure if you're watching this, you're watching the replay, you're like, people do tutorials all the time now. Back then, everyone said no. I went to a couple, I won't say who I went to, but I went to several choreographers who I work with now, some of them actually, and they were like, no, we're not doing that, Mélissa. So, and I know we have one person on the call who's beta testing. Cookie, isn't it great to actually be able to like practice at home now? Yeah, so now we're like here, I'm here, recapping. So I've been dancing kind of spottily all my life. I tried to launch tutorials, for dance hall and dance hall specific steps. I don't know, I think it's 10 years ago now. Everybody's told me no, so I stopped that. I did not progress in dance. I built my studio, I want to dance, and there are no people here to teach me the dance that I want. So what did I learn? And this is the tips part. So I'm going to talk about some of the personal things I learned and then some of the business things I learned. On the personal side, number one, like don't give up on your dreams, because the truth of the matter is I realized that when it related, and specifically your dance dreams, when it related to dance, I would consistently give up on my dance dreams at different points in times. I would keep coming back to it because I was so into it and so passionate about it, but that was kind of deep inside. And I would let life get in the way and or people's no's, right? Thanks for the compliment on me being a visionary with the tutorials things. The tutorial one is a good example. If I had kept up with that, we could have had like, I don't know, hundreds of dance hall tutorials right now on Pon Di Beat. Because it would have been going for years now, like at least 4 or 5, it's 5 years ago that I tried. So 5 years ago. I will tell you, we are about to launch tutorials and I'm about to launch 26, which is amazing. So that is our big announcement for tomorrow. You guys are already on the call, so you'll hear it now, but that's what's coming next. But imagine if I hadn't given up on my dreams so soon. Not only would I have achieved some of my dance goals, because I would have been able to do that practice that I needed consistently, but I could have been, I don't know, like millionaire, chilling, done, you know, I could have had hundreds of tutorials. I could have supported so many dancers. There's a lot I could have done. So I don't live in the world of could haves, but I do want to point out, because I'm going to do it, but I do still want to point out that if we don't give up on our dreams and we don't quit on our dreams, we can really achieve things. The next thing is consistency. Consistency is key to progress with everything, particularly in dance. We totally overestimate how much we can do in a day. So we think we can do all this stuff in a day. We think we can like jam out and learn like one choreography in a day that has 10 moves that we've never seen in our lives, right? And why haven't we been able to do this in an hour? So we consistently overestimate what we can do in a day, but we underestimate what we can do in a year. I can count, like I have so many people that I could say, okay, I've watched them. I know we started dancing together. They didn't have rhythm and they're killing it now. And it's because they were consistent and they kept it up. And because they didn't get disheartened by a class or not be able to catch something right away. I think, especially in this day and age of social media and videos and everything that we're showing, I just looked at a beginner class. Nobody in that class looks like a beginner in the video. And we're seeing these things. And so it discourages us at times. And what I would say is, one, don't get discouraged. And this is getting me to like another point probably, but mainly like just be consistent with whatever it is you're doing and you will have a lot of results. Like Pon Di Beat launched last year. We threw over 40 classes in a year. And we flew out people for every single one. That's crazy, you know? Dance with yourself. That was my next one. So my personal struggle with dance, and I realized this this year, and it was in this class with Hurricane. Hurricane, if you haven't seen him, he's this beautiful chocolate man and he does Afro fitness. And so we were dancing with Hurricane in Houston. And the thing that I realized was that for the first time in my life, I was actually looking at myself in the mirror and dancing with myself and fully enjoying it. And to me, that's crazy that someone can go for 6-7 years and never fully like look at themselves in the mirror and dance with them. But that was me, like raising my hand here. I still now struggle to this day to do that consistently. So you got to get to a place where you can dance with yourself and enjoy it with yourself. That is kind of tip number 3 on that. And it kind of goes along with this idea of like, don't try to make somebody else's thing fit you. Like try to take that and learn from it and then just add your own flavor, add your own style, be yourself. This was something huge. And for me, it didn't click until I had been exposed to different dance styles. I will honestly say that a lot of times I've struggled in classes here. And oddly enough, I went to France, I went to Paris, and I took a class with Peng. And she, like, I don't know what she did, but she pulled it out of me. And it was amazing. And it was wonderful. And I danced so well. I also took a class with this amazing woman. I'm totally blanking on her name. But she does Afro jizz, which I had never heard of. And that style, again, worked so well with me. So sometimes we're trying to, like, force ourselves to fit into a box that we're just not made to fit into. And it really could just be that you haven't found your box yet. So don't try to like make someone else's thing fit on you. That's not really what dance is about. That's a big thing. And then that leads into the next tip that I have for you guys, number 5, which is just research and explore and get into the culture of the dance. This last year has been a discovery year for me. So this is Discovery Week, and we'll also be having a discovery retreat in Jamaica. So for me, this past year, I went to Africa Best Dance Camp. I learned so much about Afro. I took so many classes with so many different people and so many different styles, like Ndembolo, like Afro Jizz, Afro House. Like it was really cool to see things beyond Afro beat, because that's all I saw in the US. And primarily, you know, my Nigerians who I love, but just to even see like all the different people from all over the continent doing different styles, that was amazing. And so what I would say is, if you're interested in this style, in learning, in just growth, you need to really dig in and explore not only what you're trying to learn, but what else is going on in the culture, what else is going on in the lifestyle, like how does this get integrated back into culture. Dance hall, I would say that's really important. And two, dance hall especially, there are different creators for the steps. They're actual creators. And so understanding that is part of it. We're actually going to have a whole conversation around teaching a cultural dance and what it means, and appreciation versus appropriation, right? I will say that I'll laugh, but I've never felt more Jamaican than I did this past year, mainly because I saw a lot of people coming in. You're trying to teach dance hall when really you've only done a couple tutorials, and you're speaking in fake patois. And I think it's coming from a place of actually trying to appreciate and get into the culture, but it doesn't work that way. Like, especially with something where there is ownership over steps and where there are crews and things like that. You have to get in that. I honestly think that if you're trying to teach something like dance hall, you've got to go and work with people from the culture consistently in person. It doesn't mean you have to necessarily go to Jamaica. Like, we've got a lot of Jamaicans here up in New York right now who are killing it, Mickey, etc. But don't. I'm sorry. I'm looking at these. I'm looking at these comments. But do not just think that you watched one tutorial and now you can teach. It doesn't quite work that way. It's one of the reasons for me that I try and fly out people. I know some people have even said to me, why don't you teach a little one-on-one class or whatever? It's another reason I don't do that, because I don't believe that until I'd even been, I was like, I don't even know enough about the culture, and I'm of the culture. I actually have a right to that in some ways as a Jamaican, but I wouldn't even go there because I know I don't know. So that is kind of, the research and explore point. And then let go. I think for some people, dance is a way to let go. Okay. And for years, I tried to be like, I just need to let go. I should be using dance to let go, right? I don't think for me, dance is a way to let go. I actually think on the flip side, dance is not a release for me. It's actually an expression of self. So for some people, it's a release, and you can be an awesome dancer because you're just letting go and releasing, etc. For other people, dance is going to show every part of you in that moment. So I'm going to give myself away here, but if you look back at some of my videos, and I don't post a lot, but you'll see, you will see if I'm worried. Sometimes I don't even know I'm worried, but I'll look back at that video. I'm like, damn. Or my husband actually is usually, my husband is if y'all ever meet Kevin, he's not the nicest sometimes, but he's just a straight shooter. I love him, but he's a straight shooter. He doesn't play niceties. And he's literally like, why do you look so worried all the time? So, for me, I would say if you are not right, your dance is never going to be right. Your emotions, I love what you just wrote there. Your emotions are shown in every move. We're on the same wavelength right now. And so you can totally fake it, but if you've got to get into a good place, before you can fully bloom and dance, you need to do that. So yeah. And then don't compare, have your goals. I will say I was never the person who compared myself. When I walked into a dance room, I have a lot of students who come in a dance room freaking out, and they're like, oh, I don't know. They're comparing themselves and we haven't even started. I never did that until this past year. I went to, when I was at the dance camp, actually, I walked into that room, and it was in Europe, it was a lot of, everybody was skinny, everybody was young, everybody was killing it, or there were no beginners there. And it was very much we're gonna get in this video. It was a very different environment than the one I was used to, because I've gotten used to like my like Pon Di Beat, we're a community, we're a family, we love everybody, we're fat, we're pink, we're green, we're blue, we're skinny. Like that was what I was like, that was my world. So I walked into that class and for the first time I was like, whoa, this doesn't feel great. And it was hot too. And so it was like 107 degrees. I'm literally not even kidding. Like it was a heat wave there. And so I was so in my head, and that was the worst feeling I've ever had in my life. And it's not typical for me. And so for me, what I took from that experience is like, you've always got to go in like with what's your goal? What are you there to do? And do that thing and not focus on anyone else. Like if I had to do it again, I would have given myself a pep talk and be like, okay, well, what are you here for? I think because I had the Pon Di Beat shirt on and now I have this company, I felt all this pressure to perform. And you've got to disconnect because you're there for you and to dance. You like whatever people think is fine. And I will say like, you know, this is where we start getting into the business tips. And I think this is kind of the first one. Ever since I, you know, started the company, I definitely feel way more pressure to do what I need to do in class and to make people feel comfortable, which also means that you need to be on top of like what you're doing. And ironically, in some ways, I dance better in my Pon Di Beat classes because I just feel like, okay, I gotta step this up. But I will say when I travel and I got like Pon Di Beat on my t-shirt, I get nervous that like, oh, they're gonna think I'm good, but I'm not good enough, and da-da-da. Again, don't do that. None of that stuff. For the business tips, now this is gonna be a crazy transition because I'm gonna be straight business. So now you're getting curly executive. So again, marketing is my thing. So many things I learned. Like we could talk for like an hour, which we're not gonna do, about the things that I've learned for the the business side of this. Number one. So this is funny. Social media doesn't translate. Social media numbers do not translate. But social media does translate. What do I mean by that? When I launched Pon Di Beat, I thought the following. I will fly out these people. They're people I want to take out class with. They're amazing dancers. They're awesome. And they are viral and they have like 100,000 fans. And it's going to be great because there will be enough people that will show up in class and we'll have a great class and maybe we'll make some money too. It doesn't translate. Someone can have 100,000 followers and 0 people come to class. Okay? And I can tell you, after having done 40 something of these, that social media following does not translate to in-person sales, okay? Now it can though, so this is where it comes into play. Social media does translate. So promotion on social media does play a difference. So running ads, so 90 like 8%, maybe 99% actually at this point of the people who have come through Pon Di Beat have come through an ad that was run on Instagram. Some of y'all are probably here from Instagram ads. An ad that was run on Facebook, from Eventbrite, and or from Google. I get a lot from Google. Like and so where I would say social media helps is I didn't have, and mind you, I didn't have any social media followers when I started this. So I'm at like 1,000 now. And so I want to point out where social media helps is when you've now built social media in one area and you built it with the people that know you in the area, then yes, it will translate. So if you're in New York and you've got a crazy following in New York, then yes, you're going to have people in your class. But when you fly someone from New York to Texas, it doesn't translate. The big part, or the big reason that is we don't have a dance hub. So in some cities, like in LA, sure, if you're from New York, you're going to go over to LA, it's going to translate a bit because they've got a dance community, but we don't have that in the same way. I'd like to say that now that we've been doing a lot more of these events, we have a lot more going on in the Afro dance hall scene here, and we're getting more of that interest here, and that's been great. But just know that having 100,000 fans, that's not going to necessarily translate to money in any capacity. Now having 100,000 emails will. So that's the next tip. Build your list and build your brand. Those are the two things. Build your list and build your brand. Social media is not your list. You do not own it. Instagram could change their policies in one day and bam, you got nobody, or your account gets. But if you have emails, if you have phone numbers, if you have ways to directly reach out to people, that's how you can get people to come. So for me, if y'all are on my list, you know you get emails, not necessarily, you get a couple before the class for sure, but email is the way to go. So the one thing I will say is, like, for the dancers who are watching this, like, you need to, and even, or anyone who wants to organize a class, you need to build your list. And dancers, you should be building your list, your actual own email list, because that gets interesting both for you in getting people to come to class, but even if you're coming to somebody and saying, well, hey, I've got this list, I know I have people in Texas. That is a big deal. And then the brand, like, the brand matters. Like, y'all are here because it's branded Pon Di Beat. It looks good. We've been doing this for a while. We've started to build some clout and some reputation around what our brand is about. So many dancers struggle with doing this, but it's really important, because if you have a brand, and it should be an authentic brand, people can connect with you. They'll know what you're about. They'll know why they should support you. They know what to expect. And so you've got to think of yourself as a business and build yourself as a business, which means building your brand and building your list. Okay. On the ads. So point one, the ads, I just want to say, like, Facebook ads, big. Facebook groups are really underrated. So there are so many Facebook groups, and you can use those to drive sales and to get people to come to your class. And the best thing about Facebook groups are they're local and they're targeted. So you literally can be like, I'm going to hit up all the Black people in Austin. I do that regularly. We have a Black Austin group. So that's really important. So we said social media, and I'm looking at my notes. We said the social media was really important. We said, build your brand and your list. The next one is do your math. 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 How do I say this? There are a lot of people who are doing a lot of work and making no money, making pennies, and or losing money. Even with kind of a more elevated price point, we have lost money. Dance business is tough. To do an event, fly somebody out, for you to go on tour, fly yourself out, pay your expenses, and then try and pay yourself, the numbers, they don't work well. And to be honest, I truly believe, especially in Afro and dancehall, we're undercharging in the States. And what I mean by that is, if you're providing like a quality experience and it's a 90-minute experience, then why are you charging $10? And you may say, well, it's not easy, this and that. People need to afford things. People are willing to pay $20 for a yoga class. They should be willing to pay $10 for a dance hall class, especially when it's $10 from a dance hall class from somebody who is an expert. So if you're from a crew, if you've honed your skill, if you're a viral celebrity choreographer, like, we should be willing to pay these people. And I say that because for me, it's like, one, like, we should be willing to pay them just as much. Like, we're willing to pay random person X teaching yoga, but not to pay like someone who is essentially like superstar, top of their game in Afro or dancehall. And that to me is like ridiculous. When I went to Jamaica, I was like laughing because when I got there, the classes were like $25, $30 a session. I was like, oh my God. And it was kind of cool though, because people would think, okay, well, I'm going to go there and it's going to be cheaper. No, you're going to pay them, you know? And so, you know, I would just say, like, I have it on both sides. If you're a student and you're watching this and a teacher is charging you, pay them. Because one, even if they're charging you $25, $30, they may still not be making a lot of money. Two, if they were organized by somebody else who also has to get paid, You know, so when people are coming and we've got like Austin Ballet Austin, they're like doing $50 master classes, there's a reason, there's math behind that. The other thing I would say is studio owners. Studio owners regularly like undercharge sometimes. Like, and I know this from my business work too. I've done a lot of consulting and looked at the numbers. The numbers are rough. So if you're thinking of getting into a dance business, I would say you need to pay attention to the numbers and then maybe figure out some other ways to make money too. Because classes aren't the end all be all, and then frankly classes don't pay. So that gets me to another point for the dance business. If you are coming in to teach classes, you should do that because you love teaching classes, not because you're trying to make money. Not just because of the math that I said before, and where yes, classes can pay is if you're packing out the room like some of the people I know with 60 people and you're doing it on your own, sure. That will give you some money. But again, like you're still not going to be able to afford to travel if your social media doesn't translate and you haven't built a list and yada, yada, yada. So coming back to this class point, like you should not, like if you don't want to teach classes, don't build your entire model around teaching classes, okay? That is not necessarily the way to earn an awesome income. Number two, it forces you to be 100% reliant on your body at all times. You break, your income breaks. Number three, if you're not about classes and someone books you for an event, so if Pon Di Beat books the teacher, I can tell right away when someone's really into teaching classes and when that's really not what they're about. And for me, it's such a shame when, you know, when I see people come through where I'm like, wow, you're really not into this and you have so much talent and there's other things that you could do that would be freaking phenomenal, but you're focused on this because it's the path that you know, even if it's not a thing you love. Or worse, when you book someone or you're working with someone, but then they're complaining about having to like teach a class. That sucks. Before I get to like the point that I'm getting to, which I think is the main point about really like loving what you do, is like negotiate. Like I would say negotiate, always negotiate. I tell people this, negotiate for yourself. I negotiate, people try to negotiate with me all the time. I don't mind it because I believe that you should, you know, ask for what you want, what you believe you deserve. But also like coming back to doing the math, don't exchange short term for long term. Sometimes we're a little too greedy in the short term and we're completely ignoring the long term opportunities working with someone could bring about, you know, like, and I would say too, it's like you kind of have to like check your own ego, pride, whatever you feel about yourself. Like you don't know where you're gonna be, you don't know where the next person next to you is gonna be. And I'm not saying, I might seem like I'm saying two things that are conflicting, but I'm kind of like always negotiate. I have a couple rules in life and two of them, one is always negotiate. Another one is like, don't be greedy. So I have like balancing rules, but I think there's that. It's like, you know, where I would love to be is like a world where one, like dancers and artists are getting paid like appropriate wages, where we as a community are willing to support them and to pay them for like what they're doing, and at a minimum at the rate that we are willing to pay other fitness people, because that just doesn't line up in my mind. But then where we're also focusing on collaboration, working together and building together and doing well together, and where we're not getting into this world where because you're not getting paid well here, you're like trying to get as much as you can there, or vice versa. So I've seen a lot of that. And I would say like some of that to me stems from you not doing the thing that you love to do, right? And so love what you do is like my last point, my last tip. And it's my biggest tip and it's my mantra. Like you have to be just loving what you do. And especially if you are a dancer, and Cookie, tell me what your fear is, type it so we can talk about that. But especially if you're a dancer, like you need to love what you do, and it doesn't mean you have to teach classes. Like maybe your passion is doing something that doesn't involve teaching. Like over the last year or two, I've watched, I'm always watching, like I've watched several people who've done a lot less classes and a lot more brand work. I've seen people say, okay, like actually, I'm gonna apply for some government grants and do more performance art. And I can tell you here in Austin, like, yeah, so I can tell you here in Austin, there are grants for artists. They will literally give away free money to you, like a couple $1,000s to do an event, etc. Cookie, you just said you're worried about, not making enough money. So, if you're an aspiring dancer and you're worried about not making enough money, I would say like, you've got to figure out how, like you've got to assume, right, that you're not going to make money right away on certain things, like certain parts of your business, but you've got to figure out what are the other things you can do, because you have to start thinking about yourself as like a mogul, as a brand, right? So like think of Rihanna, she's singing, but she's also doing fashion. She's also doing makeup. She's also doing other things. Like I truly believe as an entrepreneur, this is just a problem, right? In general. And this is the risk with entrepreneurship. Dancing is a form of, like, if you're a self-employed dancer that works as an independent contractor for other people, you're an entrepreneur. And so when you're an entrepreneur, there's gonna be that time period where you're just like getting all your ducks in a row and where you're burning on all, like, burning candles, right, at all levels. So you're working at the nights, you're maybe doing three things. But I think that's where it's important to really check in with yourself and focus on the thing that you love and make sure that's a part of that, so that you're building that, even if it's slowly, so that you can get there. Instead of jumping on the thing that you think is going to make you money, or the thing that you think that you're going to do, because you're not going to do it kind of as well. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. Any questions while we're on the line? Yeah, focus, my love. And yeah, thank you for hanging in there. Thanks for having this conversation with me. We have a couple announcements. So we're gonna have an amazing webinar tomorrow. It's with Nigerian John, who has been exploding. I remember when I first booked her to now, it's crazy. And with Kemi OG, Kemi I freaking love. She's just so smart, and she's already starting the conversation. Thank you for watching. She's already starting the conversation on her channel, on her Instagram. But the conversation tomorrow, it's a video call, so it's a webinar, so y'all have to sign up. So make sure you go to pondibeat.com/discovery week and sign up so that you can get that. The other thing I will tell you is we are going to be launching our tutorials on that call, and we will have a special offer for the people who actually join in on that call. So be sure to join in on that call if you want to know about the special offer that we're going to be having. And I think that's it. Just keep in touch and follow, and check out the events for the rest of the day. Sorry we missed you, Twin Stars. But the replay will go up in a day or two, and then I'll have a blog post recapping all of the tips, because I know there were a lot in this session. All right, bye guys.